This is me. I became financially independent at age 27, and I want to share with you some of the biggest factors that led me to achieve financial independence so young. Hello everyone, my name is Zach, and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. I think that one of the most significant factors that led me to the path to financial independence was growing up poor. Now, it's important to say that we are talking about poor within the United States. And usually when we're referring to that, we look at a number called poverty. To be considered in poverty in the United States, a family of four would be earning less than $30,000 per year. And you can see right there on the chart the various annual income versus how many people are in a household and what's considered poverty in the United States. And I'll be the first to admit that growing up poor in the United States is not so bad compared to many other places around the world. Even though you might be considered in poverty in the United States, you might still have housing, utilities, a car, internet access, and plenty of food to eat. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is I think that growing up with that kind of background has made achieving financial independence easier for me. For one, you automatically have lower consumption, when you're on the lower income side of the equation because you have less means in order to consume. And so that automatically means that you can be pretty frugal and it comes naturally and it's very easy to you, especially when you grow up and into your own adulthood. That's another reason why I think that frugality was very easy for me, because when you grow up like that, you have frugality out of necessity, and then you can take that into your adulthood if you start earning, a lot more income than what you're used to, but you still might have that, frugality mindset. You might still have a lower consumption mindset, and it might be easier for you to achieve financial independence. That's how I think it was for me on my path. I want to take a quick second here and just remind you that I have a whole nother video on my journey to financial independence and how I achieved it by age 27, and I want to share that video with you, okay? So make sure you stay to the end and I'll direct you to that video if you haven't seen it already. But getting on to my next factor that I think allowed me to achieve financial independence at such a young age was the fact that I entered the military right out of high school. I actually have several reasons why I think the military helped me achieve financial independence. The very first one was, even though you receive a relatively low amount of pay, you do have a lot of benefits. So all the pay that you do receive, it's pretty much just discretionary income, right? You can pretty much use it completely as discretionary income because the amount of benefits that you receive are so high. And just to show you actually how much members of the military are getting paid, let me bring up the enlisted pay scale for you, because it's the same across all of the branches based on how many years that you have been on active duty and based on what your rank is at the time. So when I got out in 2017, I was an E5 with 5 years in. So I would fit right there in that scale. And you can see that if it was in today's numbers, it would be $3,200 per month, or approximately $38,000 per year. That is what my base salary would be in today's dollars. It was a little bit less back in 2017. But besides that, I think that it made it easier for me to save a lot of my money because I actually did put a lot of working hours in. So the particular job that I worked in was in aviation, and we worked relatively long amounts of days, at least 60 hours per week. With all that time spent working, I didn't really have that much time or energy to actually go out and consume much to begin with. So I think that maybe that also did help, since I didn't have that much free time. This is actually one of those theories where the whole 5-day working week, 40 hours a week, was created initially in order to allow workers to have more free time to actually consume and spend more of their income. There is some truth to that, in that the more free and leisure time you have, generally the more people are going to consume. And if you're working at least 60 hours a week, you might have less propensity to spend than someone who's working fewer hours per week, maybe only 40 hours per week or 30 hours per week. Another really important factor when it comes to the military was that you do not have any kind of housing expense if you live on base. That means that my base pay, that was pretty much all discretionary spending because you didn't have any core expenses like housing. Housing, we know that takes up at least a third of most Americans' paychecks. So about a third of their income is going towards housing. And if you're a member of the military, you might not have that housing expense. And so you have that, extra 1/3 of your income pretty much all to spend, or hopefully to save like I did. And there is one more advantage of military pay that I must mention here that helped me achieve FI, and that is the extremely low tax rate that you're going to have. So because your base pay is very low, that means your income tax is going to be very low, especially if you're putting some of that base pay towards retirement accounts and reducing your taxable income or getting a tax credit. But in addition to that, you also do have extra pay that you may receive that is known as allowances, and those are untaxable amounts of income. So there are allowances for several different things. So for example, there is an annual clothing allowance that's a few $100s. There is a monthly food and necessities allowance, and that is untaxable as well. Having low amount of taxable income, even if your income is higher than your base pay, is a big advantage because you get to keep more of that income in your own pocket. And if you choose to invest it for financial independence, then you're at a huge advantage. Before I get on to the next one, I do want to inject one more time and say that I usually put a lot of research and effort into these videos. I know this one is a little bit more from the heart, but I would really appreciate either way if you just took a quick second to hit the like button on this video. Okay, let's get back into it. The next major thing that allowed me to achieve financial independence relatively effortlessly is that my spouse was on board with the plan that I had to achieve financial independence. And I think that is extremely powerful if you're trying to achieve financial independence. If you have two people working together, it is going to be much easier than one person working alone, or especially if there's one person working alone and the other person is kind of working in, opposite forces. Of course, you have the fact that two people could be working and two incomes is usually going to be higher than one. But not only that, it just research shows that family households earn a lot more than non-family households. So you can actually see the data right here from the US Census that family households earn over double what non-family households do. So imagine that you have your family household and on average they're earning over double what a non-family household would. Imagine if you were able to work together to achieve financial independence. It is going to be a lot easier and you're going to have a much bigger advantage over someone who is single and working on their own, or you're going to have a much bigger advantage over a family household that is not working together and that is in disagreement with what they want to do with their money. With that point out of the way, this leads me to the big question. I want to know from you in the comments below. What are some of the biggest factors in your own life that have helped you on the path to financial independence? Whether you've achieved FI or whether you're still working towards it, what are some things in your life that have made the biggest positive impact on your path to financial independence? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. And now I still do have a few more for you. The next one that I want to talk about is having my 2011 Toyota Prius. And this is actually worth a lot more than what most people might think. And it's not just the fact that it's that certain kind of car. No, it's more the fact that I have one car that I've been sharing in my household between two people for these past several years. And most people would be extremely surprised to find out how expensive it is to actually own just one vehicle. Having one vehicle versus two vehicles is most likely going to be about half the cost. And I think I got really lucky in the fact that I just happened to pick this particular model of vehicle because it's very low on maintenance. I pretty much had no issues. I've been very lucky with that. And of course, it gets very good gas mileage. So I've had relatively low fuel costs over the life of the vehicle so far. One might say that it's a hell of a machine.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I got myself a Prius. It's a hell of a machine.
My cost of ownership for the Prius that I bought used back in 2017, and it's a 2011 model, is way less than the average cost to own a vehicle. I've actually looked it up and it says now that the average cost to own a vehicle is $10,728 per year, and that's about $900 per month. So imagine what you could do if you were saving and investing $900 per month for your financial independence. I guarantee that that would make a big dent in achieving your goals. And I'm not done just yet. I do have another factor that was huge in helping me achieve FI, and that is that I did geographic arbitrage within the United States. Geographic arbitrage is basically moving from a higher cost of living area to a lower cost of living area. I personally moved from Southern California, which is considered a very high cost of living area in general, and I moved to Eastern Tennessee, which is considered a pretty much a very low cost of living area. Almost everything you get is going to be lower cost here, and so the percentage of your expenses to live an equivalent lifestyle are going to be a lot less. I think the biggest factor is going to be housing in my circumstance. Housing was extremely cheaper, but there are also other things like utilities, taxes, car gas, and insurance. All of that stuff is generally cheaper here. By deciding to make that move, it allowed me to achieve financial independence almost instantly just because I moved to a lower cost of living area, and therefore I needed less money to spend every month to live an equivalent lifestyle. And by the way, I do have another specific video on geographic arbitrage in my story of moving from Southern California to Eastern Tennessee. So definitely look for that video if you're interested. But as I mentioned in the beginning, I actually do want to share with you my full journey to financial independence and how I did it by age 27. And if you're interested in watching that, okay, that video is going to pop up on the screen right after I get off the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time. That's another reason why I think then you might still have those